The stone was cold and smelled of death, but the deep, echoing silence was the worst kind of lie. For 19 years, the memory of this place, the collapsed crypt, the golden flash of Rome's blood, the weight of the coming doom, had been Noel's shadow. He pushed a boulder aside, his muscles screaming against the weight of time, and then he saw him. Rome. The Beast King. He was not a king, not a man, just a hollow shape half buried in the rubble. His dark hair was matted with dust and stone, and his once vibrant golden eyes were dull, filmed over with the long sleep of the near-dead. He was so still that for one agonizing moment, Noel thought his 19-year-long search had led only to a corpse. Rome, Noel whispered, the name catching in his throat, a raw, desperate sound. He rushed forward, sinking onto the dirt. He used his hands, tearing at the rock, heedless of the skin he shredded. Finally, he uncovered the king's face. He leaned down, pressing his ear to the cold chest. A sound, a faint, ragged thump-thump, barely there, but it was enough. He was alive. Rome's eyes cracked open, focusing slowly. The golden irises flickered, and a ghost of the old fire returned. His lips, cracked and dry, moved, forming a single, desperate syllable. Noel. Tears streamed down Noel's face, washing the dirt from his cheeks. I told you I'd come back, he choked out, pulling Rome's head into his lap, stroking the wasted cheek. I swore it. The moment shattered. A heavy boot scraped on stone somewhere above them. Then another. The sound of metal, armor shifting, blades being drawn, echoed down the narrow fissure. Check the catacombs. The old Alpha swore he saw movement down here, a rough voice commanded. Noel froze, his mind snapping into the cold focus of a survivor. They knew. The council, the monsters who had spent 2 decades twisting the truth into a weapon, were here. They had been waiting for the golden-blooded king to make a mistake. Rome, with what little strength he had left, clawed at Noel's tunic. His breath was a harsh rattle. Go. Now. No. I just found you. The boy, Rome gasped, forcing the words out. Aureus. If they find him, everything was for nothing. Go. Hide him. Let the prophecy wait. Noel looked down at the man he loved, the king who had saved him, and whose life he could not yet save in return. The years had not dimmed the love, but they had hardened the resolve. A beam of light, harsh and sudden, speared down the fissure, bathing them in blinding white. There! The king is here, and he has the golden boy. Noel pressed a final, fierce kiss to Rome's forehead. I'll keep the fire alive, Rome. I promise. He pushed himself up, clutching the one relic he carried. The sound of shouting and the violent, joyous cries of the hunters filled the darkness behind him. He didn't look back. He ran for the light, ran for the boy whose life was the only victory that mattered. He ran toward a future that would be stained gold and red before it was finally free. The air reeked of sage and iron. The elders stood in their black robes, chanting words older than language itself. I knelt in the center, my wrists bound by wolf hide. Around me, faces I'd known all my life stared down with hatred sharp enough to draw blood. I saw my mother's empty eyes among them. She wouldn't look at me long. I was the reminder she had birthed a curse. Let it be done, the High Alpha's voice thundered, echoing through the stone valley. Let the blood of the impure cleanse this pack. The knife glimmered as he raised it to the moonlight. My heart beat like something caged. I wanted to scream, to run, but my body felt carved from the same stone beneath my knees. When they slit my palm, I expected pain. What came instead was silence. The first drop fell onto the altar, thick and shining, not red, but molten gold. It shimmered in the moonlight like liquid fire. The crowd gasped. Someone shouted, "Abomination!" Hands grabbed me, pulling me forward. The Alpha pressed the blade to my neck. May the gods forgive your mother's womb. I looked up at the moon and whispered, "If I am cursed, then let the curse see me." And it did. Hooves thundered against the stone. The chanting stopped. From the shadows beyond the altar, black-armored riders emerged, the symbol of the Beast King burning on their chests. The pack fell silent. No one disobeyed the royal crest. The leader dismounted, his voice carrying like a growl. "By order of the House of Ogunson," he declared, "this boy is to be taken to the capital. Alive. Alive." The word struck me harder than any blade. The Alpha snarled. "He is a taint to Sandrox." The rider's eyes didn't waver. "He is the property of the Beast King." They seized me before the pack could react. I remember the way the air changed, from smoke to cold wind. My bare feet scraped against the ground as they dragged me away, gold still dripping from my palm like melted sunlight. The crowd parted in silence. Some spat as I passed. Some whispered prayers. None dared to stop them. As we rode into the darkness, I turned once more to see the altar, my blood still glowing faintly on the stone. I thought of all the stories whispered about the royal family, the power they wielded, the blood they hid. For the first time, I wondered what they would want with someone like me. The rider beside me leaned close. "You should be dead," he murmured, not unkindly. "Consider yourself chosen." Chosen. That word hurt worse than cursed. The capital's spires were still a day's ride away, but I already knew, whatever awaited me there would not be mercy. Have you ever been marked for death, only to find out your life was never yours to begin with? Tell me, listener, what would you have done if your blood betrayed you? As the night swallowed us whole, I swore to the moon that I'd find out what my golden blood meant, even if it killed me. Because something in that rider's tone told me, death wasn't the worst thing that could happen to me. And I was about to find out what was. Act 2. I didn't sleep that night. The riders said nothing as we crossed the borders of my homeland. The wind howled through the pines, and every time I blinked, I saw flashes of my pack. The faces twisted in disgust, the golden blood shimmering on stone. By dawn, the air had changed. The trees thinned, giving way to marble walls and endless banners marked with the symbol of the Beast King, a wolf's head wreathed in gold. The capital, Oban Fortress, rose like a mountain forged by gods. Everything about it made me feel smaller. As we passed through the iron gates, the guards stared. Not at the riders. At me. Some looked curious. Others afraid. I could feel it. The whisper of a secret hanging in the air, as if everyone already knew something I didn't. When they finally dragged me off the horse, my legs trembled. My wrists still bore the marks of the ropes. We climbed the obsidian steps to a pair of enormous doors carved with wolves and moons. They opened on their own, a low growl echoing through the air like the palace itself breathed. Inside, torches burned with blue fire, gold-lined marble floors, walls glimmering with runes that pulsed faintly like veins. And at the far end of the throne room sat a man whose presence made everything else fade. He didn't look like a monster, but something in him made my wolf bow inside me. The Beast King, Rome Ogunson. He wore black that shimmered like midnight water. His hair was long, almost silver, and his eyes, gods, those eyes, held the same golden hue as my blood. For a second, I forgot to breathe. "Bring him forward," Rome said. His voice wasn't loud, but it carried through every corner of the room like thunder rolled in honey. I was shoved to my knees. The cold marble kissed my skin. He stood, walking down the steps until he towered above me. "You are the boy from the bleeding ceremony," he said. "Yes," I whispered, my throat raw. He tilted his head, studying me like I was something carved from myth. "They said your blood shone like sunlight." He lifted my hand before I could flinch. His thumb brushed the healing wound on my palm. And then, I saw it. His expression faltered. Because as his fingers touched me, my blood pulsed beneath my skin, faintly glowing gold again. Rome's breath caught. "It's true," he murmured. His gaze flicked to the courtiers lining the hall. "Leave us." The guards hesitated. Then one by one, they bowed and left until the room was empty. The doors slammed shut. The silence was so deep, I could hear the crackle of the torches. He turned back to me, no longer a king, but something primal. "You bleed gold," he said softly, as if saying it to himself. "Just like." He stopped. "Just like who?" I asked. Rome stepped closer. "Do you know what your blood means, Noel?" My name on his tongue felt strange. "Sacred." "No," I whispered. "All I know is that it's cursed." For the first time, the mighty beast king smiled, small, tragic. "No, it is not cursed," he said. "It is the blood of kings." Something in the way he said it chilled me more than hatred ever could. He turned his back, walking toward the moonlit windows. "There is a truth Sandrox has forgotten. A truth buried in the bloodlines. Yours and mine." He looked over his shoulder, eyes burning like molten gold. "Tomorrow, you will learn why I saved you." The doors opened by unseen force, and guards entered. Rome's voice dropped to a whisper meant only for me. "Until then, do not bleed again. Not even a drop." They dragged me away as his words echoed inside me. A command, a warning, a promise. I didn't know what frightened me more, the king's power, or the way my heart raced when he said my name. That night, locked inside a room that smelled of salt and old incense, I pressed my palm to my chest and whispered to the darkness. "Does my curse look anything like his? Would you have believed him if you were me? That your curse was royal? That your blood could change a kingdom?" Because in that moment, I didn't know whether I'd been saved or claimed. Act 3. I didn't see the Beast King again for 3 days. They locked me in a chamber with no windows and walls that seemed to hum with power. The food they brought was rich but tasteless. The silence was worse than any insult my pack had thrown at me. On the 3rd day, the door opened. "His Majesty requests your presence," a guard said, not meeting my eyes. Requests. Funny word. It meant command. The corridors were carved from obsidian and gold. Every step echoed, like the palace itself was listening. The deeper we went, the colder the air became. When we reached the throne room again, the guards left me standing before that same man, that same impossible calm. Rome sat at a long table, his gaze sharp enough to flay. In front of him lay ancient scrolls and a bowl filled with something thick and shimmering. Golden liquid. My stomach turned. "You've been quiet," he said without looking up. "I had no one to talk to," I replied. He smiled faintly. "You have spirit. Good. You will need it." I folded my arms. "What do you want from me?" He finally met my eyes, and I regretted asking. "What I want," he said softly, "is what your blood was born to give." I took a step back. "I'm not giving you anything." He rose, the movement slow, predatory. "You don't understand, Noel. You are something. Every 3 generations, one like you is born. Golden-blooded. The mark of the old gods." "The old gods?" I scoffed. "You mean the conquerors. The monsters my people fought against." His expression darkened. "The truth depends on which side of the war tells the story." I stared at him. "So what am I to you, then? A relic? A mistake to hide?" Rome stepped closer, until the heat from his body met mine. His voice dropped lower. "You are prophecy." He picked up the scroll and spread it open. Symbols glowed faintly on the parchment. Ancient, swirling, alive. "When the moon bleeds gold, the Beast King shall wed the Child of Light. Their union will restore the balance of Sandrox." I laughed. Too sharp. "Wed? You mean sacrifice?" "No," he said, and the softness in his tone was almost cruel. "You will not die. You will belong." Belong. The word sliced deeper than any blade. My throat tightened. And if I refuse? Rome's eyes flickered gold. Then Sandrock's burns. The silence after that was unbearable. The torches hissed. My heart pounded loud enough to fill the room. He turned away, walking toward the window where moonlight poured like water. You think I enjoy this? He murmured. You think I don't hate what my ancestors began? I said nothing, because part of me, the part that had spent its whole life wanting to be wanted, felt something I couldn't name. When he faced me again, the mask was back. The king, not the man. You will stay within the palace walls. You will eat, train, and learn the history that belongs to your blood. You will not leave without my word. My chest tightened. You're caging me. Protecting you, he corrected. If the other clans learn what you are, they will tear you apart before nightfall. Let them think you've been executed. I took a trembling breath. Why protect me at all? Rome's gaze softened just enough to scare me. Because I've seen what happens when the golden blood dies. It takes Sandrock's with it. For a heartbeat, the distance between us vanished. There was only him, tall, dangerous, and unbearably human in his restraint. I whispered, you said I'd belong. Does that mean to your kingdom, or to you? He didn't answer, but the silence said everything. He turned his back to me. You'll be moved to the East Wing tomorrow, the quarters of the future royal consort. The words hit like a punch. Consort. Before I could speak, the guards returned. As they led me away, Rome's voice followed, low, unreadable. Whether you accept it or not, Noel, your blood binds us now. I didn't look back. Couldn't. Because the worst part wasn't his command. It was the way part of me wanted to believe him. Would you fight destiny if it promised to love you, even as it devoured you? That night, I stared out at the moon from my new golden cage, wondering if the Beast King could hear my heart pounding across the palace walls. Because if he could, he'd know I was already afraid of him for the wrong reasons. Act 4. I tried to hate him. I swear I did. But the palace made it hard to remember who the enemy was. Days blurred into weeks. The East Wing became my cage, gilded, silent, haunted by echoes of a power I couldn't name. Servants came and went, bowing low but never speaking. Even their silence seemed rehearsed, like the walls themselves listened for betrayal. Rome's presence lingered everywhere. His scent, smoke, iron, and something wild. His voice, carried by memory more than sound. And those eyes, gods, those eyes that had seen my blood glow and hadn't flinched. Every night, I told myself I was just surviving. That was all. But survival has a strange way of turning into surrender. The first time I saw him again, it was in the training courtyard. He stood in full armor, silver catching the sunlight, watching two soldiers spar. He moved like water and flame combined, every motion precise, every breath controlled. When he caught me staring, he didn't smirk or frown. He simply said, "You're awake early." I shrugged. Hard to sleep when I'm being guarded like a dangerous animal. He approached slowly, closing the space between us until I could feel his warmth. Dangerous animals don't tremble. I'm not trembling. Then prove it. He tossed a wooden staff toward me. Reflex caught it midair. I wasn't weak. Years of pack trials had taught me to fight even when no one wanted me to. But Rome moved differently. Like he already knew what I'd do before I did it. Every strike I made, he blocked. Every dodge, he anticipated. Until, without warning, he swept my feet from under me and I hit the ground hard. The staff rolled away. My breath left me. Rome leaned down, his hand hovering just above my chest. Not touching, but close enough to feel his heat. "Now you're trembling," he whispered. "From anger," I lied. He smirked, a brief crack in his mask. Then he stepped back, helping me to my feet. His hand lingered just a second too long. Something sparked in the air, the same static I'd felt when our blood first met. I pulled away. You shouldn't touch me. Why? Because your people already think I'm cursed. What will they say when their king taints himself too? He stared at me for a long time, then said quietly, "Let them talk. I stopped listening to fear a long time ago." His tone, it wasn't arrogance. It was fatigue. The kind that comes from carrying a crown heavier than bone. Later that night, I found myself wandering the royal library. Scrolls upon scrolls. Histories of Sandrox. Tales of the Thermans, the golden-blooded conquerors. I read until the candles bled into dawn, searching for something that made sense of me. Then I heard it. A voice behind me. You won't find the truth in those lies. Rome again. Barefoot, dressed in black silk, hair unbound. He looked less like a king and more like a ghost trying to remember how to live. Couldn't sleep. I asked. Can't, he said. Not when my past keeps walking these halls. He joined me by the table, glancing over the scrolls. These were written by those who feared the golden blood. They called it corruption because they couldn't control it. And you can. Rome's eyes softened. No, but I can protect it. He looked at me then, really looked, as if searching for something in my face he'd lost long ago. I've seen this before, he said. That glow under your skin. My father had it too. And his before him. The words hit like thunder. I took a step back. You mean? Yes, he said. I have golden blood as well. The room tilted. Then everything they told us was a lie crafted to keep power where they wanted it. If the clans knew the royal family shared your blood, they would burn this palace to ash. My chest ached. So that's why you saved me. To hide the truth. He didn't deny it. He only whispered, to preserve it. Something inside me snapped. Anger, grief, awe, I couldn't tell. You kept me here to make me your secret. Rome stepped closer, his voice breaking its calm for the first time. No, Noel. I brought you here because you are the only one who can save us when the lie finally breaks. He reached out, cupping my jaw gently. His thumb brushed my skin, and I felt that same pulse, gold meeting gold. Our hearts seemed to beat in sync, loud enough to drown the world. And for one breathless moment, I thought he might kiss me. But he dropped his hand and turned away. Get some rest. Tomorrow, the council will test your blood. My blood. I echoed. His voice was low, ragged. They must believe you are harmless, or they'll demand your death again. He started to leave. I wanted to say something, anything, but the words got lost behind the storm in my chest. The door closed. I was alone again. Only this time, the silence didn't feel empty. It felt electric. Because now I knew, the Beast King's greatest secret was not his crown. It was that we shared the same cursed blood. And that secret bound us tighter than any vow could. Tell me, if someone told you the person who saved you carried the same curse you feared your whole life, would you run from them, or toward them? Because I didn't know which one I'd do when morning came. Act 5. I didn't sleep that night. How could I? The king of Sandrox, the Beast King himself, had the same golden blood I'd been condemned for. The candle beside my bed burned low. Each flicker of flame cast gold across my skin, and for the first time, I didn't want to hide it. I wanted to understand it. By morning, a guard summoned me to the Hall of Archives. The air was sharp with dust and secrets. Rome was already there, standing before a massive mural, a fresco of battle, painted in blood and ash. I looked closer. The figures weren't just warriors. They were wolves, one side red-blooded, the other streaked with gold. The golden wolves looked fewer, but their eyes burned brighter. Rome turned when he sensed me. You see them? He asked quietly. They look like gods. They were. Or at least, that's what they wanted the world to believe. He walked toward the mural, tracing a line of gold paint with his gloved hand. When the Thermans invaded Sandrox, they didn't come as conquerors. They came as refugees. Their homeland was dying. They begged for sanctuary. I frowned. But the stories say they enslaved us. The stories lie. His tone was bitter. The truth was simpler. The clans feared their power, the golden blood that could heal faster, fight longer, live centuries. So the wolves rebelled and drove them away, but not before taking something from them. What? Rome's gaze fell on me. Their bloodline. Silence. Heavy. Thick. The meaning sank in like a blade. You mean? The beast alphas, he said softly, are the last descendants of the Thermans. The royal family was built on the blood they pretended to destroy. He stepped closer. And every 3 generations, the blood weakens. Unless. He stopped. Unless what? I asked, though I already knew. His eyes darkened. Unless we find one like you. A golden blood born outside the palace, untouched, pure. You are the key to renewing what keeps the royal blood strong. My breath caught. So that's what I am to you. A cure. Rome's jaw clenched. No. You're the proof that our history was wrong. Then why hide me? I snapped. Why not tell the world the truth? His voice dropped, rough. Because truth destroys kingdoms faster than lies ever will. We stood in the center of the mural, surrounded by painted blood and ghosts, and I saw the exhaustion in him, the weight of generations trying to erase what they were. I hated him for it, and I pitied him too. He looked like a king, but all I saw was a man bleeding under armor no one else could see. I turned away, but his hand caught my wrist. His touch was fire, searing, familiar. Noel, he said, voice breaking, you weren't supposed to be at that altar. You weren't supposed to be seen. I tried to keep you safe. By keeping me prisoner. By keeping you alive. I laughed, sharp and hollow. Funny way of showing it. His grip loosened, but he didn't let go completely. You don't understand what's coming. The council grows restless. The priests have seen omens. If they discover I share your blood, what then? They'll crown someone else. And kill us both. The room seemed to tilt. The mural behind him bled into gold. Every word felt like a prophecy being born. And then, without meaning to, I whispered, why do you care what happens to me? Rome's hand fell away. His eyes searched mine, raw and uncertain. Because, he said slowly, I can feel you, even when you're not near. The words hit harder than they should have. Something primal answered inside me. The wolf, the blood, whatever it was that sang in my veins when he spoke. My throat tightened. That's impossible. He stepped closer, close enough that our heartbeats blurred. Is it? When our blood is the same. I should have stepped back. But I didn't. And he didn't stop. The air between us hummed like lightning waiting for a storm. Then the door burst open. A soldier stumbled in, breathless, eyes wide. Your Majesty, the council demands your presence. They've discovered something in the archives. Rome's entire body went still. What? The guard hesitated, eyes darting toward me. They found a record of the royal lineage. The one that shows the first beast alpha was not a wolf of Sandrox. The words hung in the air like the toll of a funeral bell. Rome turned to me, face pale but composed. They know, he whispered. He didn't wait for permission. He grabbed my hand and pulled me toward the hidden passage behind the mural. Stone ground against stone as the wall slid open, revealing a dark corridor. Where are we going? I demanded. To where this lie was born, he said, his voice trembling. If we don't find the original pact, they'll burn us both before sunrise. We disappeared into the shadows, the echo of our footsteps chasing us down the ancient tunnel. 2 outcasts bound by golden blood and a secret that could end a kingdom. And for the first time, I wasn't sure if I was running from my curse or running toward it. Act 6. If anyone had told me I'd be running through ancient tunnels beneath the royal palace with the Beast King, I'd have laughed, or maybe cried. Now, every step echoed with the ghosts of those who came before me, and I couldn't tell whether we were chasing truth or being hunted by it. The torchlight flickered over stone walls carved with runes, spirals, wolves, and suns etched in gold. The air was damp, humming with memory. Rome led the way, his cloak brushing the floor. For a king, he moved like a man trying to outrun himself. We reached a chamber at the tunnel's end, round, domed, with a single altar in its center. On it sat a book bound in gold-threaded leather. It pulsed faintly, like something alive. Rome stopped before it. His jaw tightened. This is where the first beast Alpha swore his pact to the Thermans. The beginning of everything, and the reason we live a lie. I swallowed hard. What kind of pact? He looked at me, and his eyes, dark, heavy with centuries, softened. A blood pact. To bind the royal blood to the golden forever. To keep it hidden, and to keep it powerful. I took a shaky step closer. So this is where my curse was written. His hand brushed mine. No, Noel. This is where your destiny began. He opened the book, and dust drifted up like tiny stars. Inside were sigils, names, oaths written in both Sandrock's and ancient Therman script. I didn't understand the language, but I felt it, deep, thrumming under my skin, as if my blood recognized its mother tongue. Rome's voice broke the silence. Every beast king must renew the bond by marrying the Goldenborn. Not for politics. For survival. But the last Goldenborn was killed before his ceremony. He hesitated, then added quietly, he was my ancestor's lover. I turned sharply. You mean? He nodded once. They loved each other. But the council found out. They called it heresy. They burned the golden boy at dawn. Since then, every king who tried to love the chosen one lost everything. The words hit me like ice. Then why risk it with me? Rome looked at me, and for once there was no throne in his gaze. Only a man, stripped bare. Because I can't stop it. Whatever curse or bond this is, it's already in me. You're already in me. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. The world shrank to the space between us. A heartbeat, a whisper, a choice. His hand rose, fingers brushing the side of my neck, tracing the pulse that betrayed my fear and longing alike. You think I don't hear it? He murmured. Every time you walk into a room, your blood calls to mine. I tried to laugh, but it came out a tremor. That's not how it works. Then explain this, he whispered. And before I could, he leaned in, not to claim, but to ask. The kiss landed like thunder turned soft, hesitant, reverent, and so full of ache that it felt like centuries were exhaling through us. When he pulled away, the golden sigils on the walls glowed faintly brighter. My voice trembled. What was that? Rome stared at the light, the blood bond recognizing itself. Something hot and strange swirled low in my belly. Not lust, not exactly. More like something ancient awakening. I pressed a hand to my stomach, uneasy. He caught the motion. Are you all right? I don't know, I said honestly. It feels like something's moving in me. Alive. Rome's expression changed, alarm flickering beneath awe. The blood is merging. The prophecy said when the Goldenborn and the true beast unite, life will stir again. A new line, untouched by curse or lie. I stared at him, terrified. Are you saying I'm? He silenced me with a finger to my lips. Not yet. But soon. You were meant to carry this blood forward, Noel. To end what the Thermans began. It was too much. Too ancient. Too heavy. I backed away, shaking my head. I didn't ask for this. I didn't want to be anyone's prophecy. I just wanted to live. Rome followed, but didn't reach for me. Neither did I. Yet here we are, two cursed heirs of the same lie. The silence between us filled with everything unspoken, the weight of our lineage, the fear of what we'd just unleashed. And beneath it, something tender, something real. I sank to the floor beside the altar, running my hand across the book's edge. All my life I thought golden blood was a stain. Now you tell me it's sacred. He crouched beside me. Sacred things are often the ones people fear most. His tone softened. Noel, look at me. I did. And when I did, his eyes weren't royal or guarded anymore. They were human, broken, yearning, afraid. I don't know what happens next, he confessed. If the council comes for us, I'll fight. But if they reach you first. They won't, I cut in, surprising even myself. Not while I still have blood in my veins. He smiled, small and sad. That's exactly what I'm afraid of. The torchlight dimmed, and the glow of the runes slowly faded, as though the world itself had taken a breath and gone still. Rome reached out, his thumb brushing my cheek. If we die for this truth, let it be for something worth dying for. I swallowed the lump in my throat. What if it's worth living for instead? He froze. Then, for the first time, he smiled. A real smile. The kind that made him look like the man he could have been, had he never been born a king. Somewhere far above, the sound of bells rang. Alarms. The council had found the hidden passage. The world above was stirring. Rome rose to his feet and offered me his hand. Then let's live, Noel. Let's make sure the truth survives us. And as I took his hand, the ancient runes pulsed once more, bright as sunrise, as though blessing the impossible bond between a cursed king and his golden-blooded mate. The walls trembled. The sound of footsteps thundered closer. Rome drew me toward another passage, one that led upward. Stay close, he said. Whatever happens, don't let go. I gripped his hand tighter. Would you forgive him if you were me? I whispered to the listeners, to you, the ones hearing my story now. Would you trust the man who saved you, if he also doomed you? The tunnel lit with the shimmer of gold veins in the stone, the light spreading ahead like a path carved by fate. And as we ran, I realized. Maybe destiny wasn't something written in blood. Maybe it was something rewritten, heartbeat by heartbeat, choice by trembling choice. Act 7. Do you know what betrayal sounds like? It's not a scream. It's the silence after one. The council's bells still echoed through the tunnels when we reached the upper chamber, an old crypt beneath the palace gardens. Rome's hand was still tight in mine, his breath harsh, his face streaked with dust. The world above us trembled. Footsteps, shouts, metal against metal. The Beast King was being hunted by his own. Rome turned to me, his voice low. They can't find you here. I'll draw them away. No, I shook my head hard. If they see you alone, they'll think you killed me. His lips parted, as if he'd argue, but the truth was written all over his face. I was right. He hesitated. Then what do you want me to do? Stay, I whispered. For once, don't be a king. Just stay. And for a heartbeat, he did. The war outside, the chaos, the danger, all of it blurred into a dull hum. He brushed his thumb against my cheek. You're not what I expected. I tried to smile. Neither are you. But the moment shattered like glass when the stone door behind us burst open. Soldiers poured in, iron armor gleaming, crimson insignias flashing. At their front was a man in white robes, tall, sharp-eyed, radiating holy venom. The High Seer, the king's own advisor. Rome's body went rigid. You shouldn't be here. The seer smiled faintly. Neither should you, your majesty. You've been busy rewriting history. He looked at me like one looks at a contagion. So this is the golden-born abomination. You've brought him into the heart of the kingdom. Rome's voice dropped to a snarl. Say one more word. And what? The seer raised an ancient scroll, its seal broken. The council has already seen the truth. The Thurman taint runs through royal veins. The beast king's blood is not red but gold. The soldiers murmured, uncertain, eyes darting between us. Rome stepped forward, fury and desperation in his voice. It doesn't matter what color my blood is. I bled for this throne. I bled for them. The seer's smile sharpened. Yes. And soon, you will bleed for them. I didn't see the strike coming. One of the guards lunged, sword flashing. Rome shoved me aside, and the blade sliced across his shoulder. Golden blood sprayed across the crypt floor. The soldiers froze. The proof glimmered in torchlight. Not red. Not mortal. Gold. The seer's eyes widened, a fanatic's joy lighting them. The curse lives. Rome roared, grabbing the guard's arm and twisting it until the bone cracked. Get out, he shouted. All of you. But they didn't move. Fear and awe held them captive. Do you see it? The seer hissed. Even now the gold corrupts the beast. It infects him. Look at his eyes. Rome's gaze was wild, pupils rimmed with molten amber. His power trembled under his skin, uncontrolled. The room shook with his fury. For a moment, I didn't recognize him. Rome, I whispered, stepping closer. You have to calm down. But he didn't hear me. The wolf in him had taken over. The seer lifted his staff. Kill the abomination. End the bloodline. That snapped him back. He turned on the seer with a sound that wasn't human. Touch him, and I will end you. The seer sneered. So the beast loves his ruin. How poetic. He slammed the staff to the ground. Light exploded from the seal at its base. Runes of red magic snaring the air. Rome staggered as the binding spell wrapped around him, forcing him to his knees. He growled, muscles straining, but the chains tightened. I rushed forward, only for a guard to grab me, yanking my arms behind my back. Don't touch him. I screamed. He's your king. But it didn't matter. They'd already chosen fear over loyalty. The seer approached Rome slowly, voice low and venomous. Your Majesty, you've forgotten your place. You've forgotten your blood. Allow me to remind you, kings don't love. They rule. He raised the staff, its tip glowing red, aiming straight at Rome's chest. Something inside me snapped. It wasn't bravery. It wasn't wisdom. It was instinct, the blood's call. I jerked my head back, slamming it into the guard's nose. He screamed and loosened his grip. I lunged, grabbing the fallen sword, and swung. The blade connected with the seer's staff, shattering its gemstone core. The red light sputtered, the spell breaking. Rome surged upward, breaking free. He caught the seer by the throat and lifted him off the ground. You call me cursed, he growled, voice echoing with something ancient. But you're the one who sold your soul to fear. He threw the seer against the wall. The man crumpled, gasping. For a moment, I thought it was over. But then, a whisper of steel. A flash of movement. One of the guards had driven his blade straight through my side. The pain was blinding. I staggered, the world tilting, my vision dimming. Gold spilled from the wound, bright, shimmering, alive. Rome froze, eyes wide. Noel. He caught me before I hit the ground, his hands already slick with my blood. No, no, no. His voice broke. Stay with me. I tried to speak, but all that came out was a shaky breath. Guess. This is what happens when a curse and a king fall in love. He pressed his forehead to mine. You're not dying. Do you hear me? You're not. But I felt it. The pull. My blood was doing something strange. It flowed across the floor, glowing brighter, crawling toward the broken seal of the seer's staff. The magic shimmered, twisting into the air like golden smoke. Rome followed my gaze. What is it doing? It's remembering, I whispered weakly. The blood remembers what it was made for. The golden light surged upward, forming shapes, wolves intertwined, a crown above them, then splitting into two, one red, one gold, before merging again. Rome stared, eyes wide. The prophecy. The blood of gold and beast shall unite in pain, I murmured, recalling the fragments we'd read in the hidden book, and through that pain, the air of truth will rise. I looked down. My hand was on my stomach again. The ache there wasn't just pain now, it was warmth. Life. Rome saw it too. His face crumpled, disbelief and awe colliding. Noel, gods, you're... I nodded faintly, carrying the last chance this kingdom has. The seer, barely conscious, started laughing, a broken, bitter sound. A child, of gold and beast? You'll doom us all. Rome's expression hardened. No, we'll save you from yourselves. He turned, his power surging. The golden veins under his skin flared, his aura expanding. The remaining guards backed away in terror. But before he could strike, the seer whispered one final incantation. The floor beneath us cracked. A fissure of crimson fire tore through the crypt. The ceiling began to collapse. Rome grabbed me, pulling me against him. Hold on. The world exploded into dust and light. Stone shattered. The torches went out. When I woke, everything hurt. My body, my bones, my heart. The crypt was gone, buried under rubble. Rome was beside me, blood on his face, one arm pinned under debris. He was breathing, barely. I crawled closer, ignoring the stabbing pain. Rome. His eyes fluttered open. Noel, you're alive. Don't talk, I whispered. We'll get out. He gave a small, broken laugh. You always say that like you believe it. I touched his cheek. Because I do. For a long, trembling moment, neither of us moved. The silence was thick with ash and heartbeats. Then I heard voices above. Soldiers calling, digging, searching. The council's rescue party, or executioners. Rome gripped my hand weakly. If they find you, they'll kill you. I'm not leaving you. He smiled faintly, even as his eyes dimmed. Then let's die as truth, not lies. But I couldn't let that happen. Not with what I was carrying. Not with what we'd started. I leaned close, pressing my lips to his ear. I'll come back for you. I swear it. And for once, he didn't argue. He just whispered, find me. I crawled through a narrow opening between the stones, light spilling through. Each breath was agony. My body trembled. When I finally emerged into the night, I collapsed on the cold earth, blood and tears mixing. Behind me, the palace burned, red and gold flames licking the sky. And in that chaos, I felt the faintest pulse beneath my palm, deep in my belly. Life, golden and stubborn. A secret still fighting to be born. Would you have stayed? I asked softly, my voice trembling as I looked toward the distant fire. If you were me, would you have stayed, even if it meant dying with him? I didn't wait for an answer, because the night already had one. The wind carried it, a whisper through the trees. Find me. And I knew, even if the whole of Sandrox turned to ash, I would. Act 8. There are silences that never fade. Even years later, they hum in your bones like the echo of a scream you never got to finish. For a long time, all I could hear was that silence. Rome's voice vanishing under the rubble. The sound of the palace burning, the world splitting in two. They said the Beast King had fallen that night. That he died defending his throne from a golden monster. And maybe, in some cruel way, they were right. Because the Rome I loved, the one who held me like a prayer he didn't deserve, died in that collapse. and the world that rose from those ashes had no place for me. I ran until my feet bled. Past the smoking fields, past the border where the banners of Sandrox once flew proud. By the third dawn, I collapsed near the ruins of a forgotten shrine. An old woman found me there. She had eyes like wet ash and a voice that sounded like the earth had lent it to her. She said nothing when she saw the gold on my skin, the faint shimmer beneath the dirt. She just helped me inside and whispered, "The old gods still remember their own." I stayed with her for months, hidden among the hills, surviving on whatever the land allowed. The wound on my side healed slowly, but something else grew faster, deeper. Life. The first time I felt it, a flutter, light as breath, I almost screamed. Not from fear. From awe. It was real. The prophecy's cruel gift. A child of beast and gold. I remember staring at the fire that night, whispering into the flames. "Did you plan this, Rome? Was this your last rebellion?" The wind didn't answer, but I could almost feel his warmth there, as if the fire itself remembered his touch. Seasons changed. My body grew heavy, my mind restless. At night, I dreamed of him, trapped under endless stone, still calling my name. Every dream ended the same. I reached for him, but the light always pulled me away. Then, one evening, a traveler came to the shrine. A scout from the outer villages, his cloak marked with the crest of the resistance. He brought news from the city. "The council rules in the king's name," he said. "But there's no king left, just a mask they wear. The seer now sits beside the throne, whispering in the ears of the false regent." I asked, my voice trembling, "And the king? His body?" The scout hesitated. "They never found it." My heart stopped. Never found it. Which meant he could still be alive. Buried. Broken. But breathing. That night, I couldn't sleep. The child kicked for the first time. Strong, insistent, as if demanding that I listen. And I knew then that my hiding was done. The world thought we were curses. But what if we were the cure? I left at dawn, carrying nothing but a tattered cloak and the hope I hadn't earned. The journey back to Sandrox was like walking through a corpse. Villages burned, rivers poisoned with ash, the air thick with grief. Everywhere I went, I saw the mark of the council, propaganda carved into stone. Obedience is salvation. The gold will corrupt. But beneath that fear, there were whispers. That some nights, a golden wolf prowled the outskirts of the capital. Silent, unkillable, eyes like molten suns. I didn't dare believe it. But gods, I wanted to. By the time I reached the capital's shadow, I was barely standing. The child pressed heavy against my ribs. My body trembled with exhaustion. The city gates were surrounded by guards. There was no way in. So I found another path, through the catacombs that once connected to the royal crypts. It was the same place where we'd last stood together. The entrance was half buried, but I dug until my fingers bled. When I finally crawled inside, the air hit me, thick with dust and old grief. I moved through the ruins slowly, every sound echoing like memory. And there, beneath the shattered arch of the throne's foundation, I saw it. A flicker of gold. Not fire. Not magic. A heartbeat. Rome lay slumped against the fallen stones, half buried, skin pale, eyes closed. His chest rose and fell weakly, but the veins beneath his skin still glowed faintly gold. He wasn't dead. Rome, my voice broke as I fell beside him, my hands shaking as I brushed the dirt from his face. "It's me. I came back." His lashes fluttered. For a moment, I saw confusion, then disbelief. "Noel," his voice was hoarse, broken. "You're real." I laughed and sobbed at once. "You said to find you." He gave the faintest smile. "And you always listen too well." I pressed his hand to my stomach. "You're not the only one who survived." For a second, silence. Then his eyes widened, and tears slid down his face. He didn't speak, but he didn't need to. His hand trembled over the life between us, the future he'd thought he'd lost. But then the earth above us rumbled. Voices. Torches. The council's hunters. They'd followed me. Rome tensed, trying to rise. Go. Take the child and run. I'm not leaving you again. He clenched his jaw. If they see you, they'll kill both of you. Please, Noel, not this time. His voice cracked, that rare softness bleeding through. Don't make my love a weapon that kills you. I wanted to scream, to curse the gods for making me choose between the two lives that meant everything. But the choice had already been written long before I was born. I kissed him, desperate, trembling, a promise carved in blood. Then live, I whispered. If not for me, then for what we made. He closed his eyes, breathing me in like a dying man inhaling the last of the sun. I'll find you, he murmured, even if it takes 1,000 lives. The sound of boots grew louder. I forced myself to turn away, tears blurring everything. I slipped through the cracks of the ruined chamber, hiding in the tunnels as the soldiers flooded in. Their torches flickered. Someone shouted, "We found him. The king lives." My heart stopped, relief and terror intertwined. If they knew he lived, they would chain him, use him, make him their puppet again. But if he died here, the prophecy would die with him. The walls shook as they dragged him away. And all I could do was press my hand over my heart and whisper to the child within. Your father is alive. He's fighting still. And one day, you'll see him. That night, I gave birth under a blood-red moon. The old woman from the shrine found me again, as if the gods had guided her. She laid me on the earth, her hands steady, her voice a chant of the forgotten gods. When the cry finally came, small, fierce, piercing, I thought the stars themselves would weep. A boy. His eyes opened golden. Not cursed. Not beast. Both. The woman smiled faintly. He carries the balance they feared. I looked down at him, trembling. He carries his father's fire. The baby reached up, touching my face. His skin glowed faintly in the moonlight, the same hue that had damned us. But I no longer saw it as a curse. I saw Rome's eyes in his, and I whispered, your name will be Aureus, born of light and loyalty. You will not hide like we did. You will remind them what love looked like before it was called sin. The wind swept through the trees then, carrying a sound I knew too well, a low, distant howl that trembled with sorrow and devotion. The golden wolf still lived. I looked toward the horizon, clutching my child close. Find us, I whispered to the night, before the world forgets who we were. And somewhere in the dark, a single, answering howl split the silence. Not an end. Not a beginning. A promise. Act 9. You've listened this far. So I'll tell you the ending, not because it's happy, but because endings are what keep us alive long enough to start again. If you've ever loved someone who the world said you shouldn't, you already know how this story feels. It's been 19 years since the fire. Since the night I lost him, and the night our son was born. 19 winters spent on the outskirts, living between worlds, teaching my boy to run when the moon burned too bright. Aureus grew strong. Too strong. The earth whispered to him. Wolves bowed when he passed. His blood, golden and red, shimmered like the dawn. He was everything Rome dreamed of, and everything Sandrox feared. We lived hidden near the cliffs beyond the Blackwater River. He'd ask about his father often, staring into the distance like he could sense him. What was he like? He'd ask. And I'd tell him, he was a storm that loved too fiercely, and the world mistook that love for danger. Every full moon, Aureus's eyes would flash gold. And every time, I felt the same chill, the knowing that destiny wasn't done with us yet. One night, it came. The riders, armored in black, carrying banners marked with the old crest, the Beast King's sigil. The air smelled of war and prophecy. They came not to kill, but to summon. The seer has fallen, their leader said, and the kingdom has turned to ruin. The council's corruption bleeds through the land. We need the heir. I stared at him, my heart shattering quietly. He didn't mean Rome. He meant my son. Aureus stepped forward, proud and unflinching, his father's shadow in his stance. If I go, he said, I end this, don't I? Yes, the rider answered. Or you begin it anew. He looked at me then, and I saw it, the same spark I'd fallen in love with, burning now in the eyes of the child born from that forbidden love. Mother, he whispered, you taught me to be brave, but no one ever told me how to stop being afraid. I touched his face. That's what makes you human. That's what made your father a king. He left before dawn, and when the sun rose, I followed the wind. It always knew where he was going. They say the battle lasted 7 days. The wolves of Sandrox turned on their masters. The council's fortress burned. And in the center of it all, Aureus faced the last of the council. A man who wore the Beast King's crown like a stolen halo. I saw it all from the ridge, golden light tearing through the sky like dawn itself had come early. And when the smoke cleared, he stood alone, crowned in ash and gold. The prophecy was fulfilled. The golden blood had not corrupted. It had cleansed. But he didn't smile. He turned instead toward the mountain's edge, where the ruins of the old palace still whispered of ghosts. That's where I found him, hours later, staring into the dark, eyes wet with grief. He's here, isn't he? He said softly. I followed his gaze, and there, among the stones, was the faint shimmer of a golden wolf, watching from afar. He didn't approach. He didn't need to. Fathers and sons don't always need words to understand each other. The wolf howled once, long, low, aching, then disappeared into the mist. And Aureus wept. That night, we buried the crown. Not on a throne. Not in a temple. But beneath the same tree where Rome once told me that love wasn't weakness. It was the only power worth bleeding for. Aureus laid his hand on the soil. What will they call me now? He asked. I smiled faintly. Whatever they want. Just don't let them forget that we were here. He nodded, then whispered. I think he'd be proud of us. I know he would. The wind rose again, stirring the leaves, and for a moment, I swore I heard his voice, clear as the first night he said my name. Noel. Years later, when peace finally returned, songs began to spread. Stories of the Golden King and the Last Beast. They say the boy's blood could heal even the bitterest wounds. They say the mother who raised him never aged, for the gods had marked her heart with eternal grief. They don't say my name in those songs. But I don't mind, because some loves aren't meant to be remembered by the world, only by the stars that watched them happen. Now I tell you this story, listener, because maybe you've carried a love that others said was wrong. Maybe you've been made to feel like your heart was a sin. But listen carefully. The blood that sets you apart is the same blood that saves you. Rome used to say, every curse begins as a story someone was too afraid to understand. And I think, maybe we finally changed that. I visit the cliffs sometimes. The ocean below still hums with the sound of wolves howling under the moonlight. And when the tide glows gold, faint, like memory, I know he's still out there, watching, guarding, loving from a distance that no death can cross. I whisper into the wind, like I always do. We did it, Rome. We kept the blood, the love, and the fire alive. The wind answers, soft and sure. You were always the fire, Noel. And I smile, because maybe that's the only ending that ever mattered. Not the crown. Not the prophecy. Just love, surviving everything. Comment golden hearts if you believe some love stories never end.